Okay, so today we are going to be talking amalgamation, which is a historical way of explaining what went on, but it also links up and it's also connected to the fruit in the Bible, okay, in the clay, okay, again. And we're going to be showing different ways and why I'm trying to tell you that in Genesis 1, in the story of genes or Genesis, okay, we are speaking of actual people and not vines and plants and fruit, okay? So again, here's an image. I don't know what the words are saying because it is too small to see, but we can see that this gentleman with these white gloves, I'm wondering if this has something to do with Freemasonry, I'm just saying, or building, okay? And he's with a so-called white woman, and then there's someone speaking with him, okay? Um, and it said the amalgamation of the fruit, okay? And then we have another image here that is practical amalgamation, the wedding. Now, this is all, I think these images are from the 1800s, if I'm not mistaken, okay? And then it also has the amalgamation walls. And then it says racism in clay, okay? And then it says, here is the fruit of the amalgamation. So I'm guessing this little curly haired baby, that's a kind of light skin, not as dark as him and not as dark as her and her husband. This is another little boy that is of a lighter complexion because remember, God said he wanted to make it light, and it was so. And from light brought him happiness, okay, to get rid of the darkness, which is you, okay, the earth, which is the beings or the original and the original people that were produced organically on a landmass. Okay, not just Africa, but all over the entire plane or planet, suppose it. Okay, here's another image of what practical amalgamation looks like. Okay, because this is what your people look like. All these buildings that they're telling you are old courthouses and all these other buildings that, again, they don't recreate today because they cannot. These are the people that were here in those particular positions, I think, even up until the 1800s in some instances. And this is the remnants of an empire of antiquity, an ancient empire that was there prior to colonization, okay, that they spent a little bit of time amalgamating, okay, and recreating, replenishing, tilling, irrigating, cultivating, seeding, and seeding the land. This is all talking about creation. Because in the beginning, when God began creating, in the beginning, when God began creating, sorry guys, I'm trying to rush and do this. Um, the earth was first a void and formless or shapeless, meaning that it had not been tampered with, that it was just growing free and wild and naturally. Okay. And so again, this is what had happened here until these people populated and filled the earth to its capacity or till they felt strong, so that now the fruit that was being produced would be able to produce the same type of fruit that there is within. This is talking about so-called white people, or the people that have stole, that have had their God or their father take away your heritage and your title and your standing by law, and gave you something like black that means death and makes you dead by law when you call yourself these things, and giving your title American to these particular people, which also is said in the 1828 dictionary, Webster's dictionary, that the title has been taken away from those particular people that were found here, the copper colored or Aborigine people that were found here by the Europeans. And now the term has been given to uh, the Europeans' children or descendants. And we have to realize that when we're using that term and we're talking about in the 1828s, by then Noah's flood in 1600s, possibly around 1640, not when they told you it was, would already have occurred. And then we would know that there was French, old French or French people. There were all different other types of colonies already here that were growing and mingling with the earth. Okay. So again, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Um, Take care. Grand Rising and good day, soul siblings. It's Shay Seeking, and this is not your mama's Bible study because his story lied. So today we're going to go ahead and go into etymology. And when we're talking about the term fill, because I think that for us to keep going on thinking that this fruit that we're talking about was consumed or that was eaten, or Adam and Eve and the apple, where nowhere in the text does it say apple in any of my Bibles. It says fruit. We know that God likes to tell things to be fruitful and multiply. And we also know that he says to fill the earth. Now, since we know that when we're using etymology, not so much, like unless you look at it from the point that the earth means or the beginning or the first is the aboriginal, and then the indigenous is the offspring of that earth. Okay, then, or those earthlings, which are normally heavily melanated people. Okay, so when God saw darkness when he came here or came to any other land, he wanted to make light. And so today, when we ask ourselves, where does division and racism come from? Because again, race doesn't really have much to do at most points in time that we're talking about with your race. It didn't mean your skin tone until later on in the game. Okay. So, again, the race is all about the race to the top. If you want to know more about that one, I already did one on race and did etymology on it, and it's called You Racist Mother Shut Your Mouth. Okay. And it's here on the YouTube channel, American Aborigines Unchained. So yeah, when we look into the concordance, it also says that earth several times in Genesis is being used to describe a people. We also know that animals also is used in etymology to describe a people. And we know that we also know that fruit is used to describe people as well. Okay, so we can get that out of our head that it was an apple because it doesn't say that. We can get it out of our head that it was fruit because we're talking about the fruit of the loin or fruit of the loom, or we're talking about offspring. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at this, because God said to fill the earth. He also said to replenish it. So we see replenish here. We know that we're probably on the right track at this point, right? Okay, so Old English, to fill, make full, fill up, replenish. Okay, this is an order that God gave to these colonizers, again, when they started to make their voyages and when they started to conquer and colonize different lands. Okay, so it says to satisfy. Okay, because again, God was pleased when this was happening, right? When he was turning darkness to light, right? And when he was causing division. So when we say, where did racism come from, in a point where we're separating groups, it's when this particular God of creation started to create with procreation, which was the earthlings or beings that were in these lands prior to any form of colonization. Okay, so let's see. So again, the story of Genesis is their creation using the genesis, okay, the genes of the prior prehistoric peoples, okay. So taking that land and then mixing it with the slime or the water or whatever is talking about mixing, amalgamating subgroups, sub-races of people on the land. And the land is also speaking of the earth, and which is also speaking of the original man and so-called man and woman. Okay, so fulfill, Proto-Germanic, fill, let's see, to fill, make full. Again, because there's no reason why God will have to make or tell fruit to be fruitful. It just grows off like it does. So again, when we're in Genesis 1, rethink what you're reading there, and you'll see where racism actually started. And it's in Genesis in the first chapter. Okay. So when he's saying that let the creeping thing and let the fowl go in, the fowl is representing a group of people, and the beast of the field is representing a group of people. Okay. So let's see. Derivative of full. Okay, so it's showing some different things here to fill the bill in 1882, fill out, okay. Okay, here's fill as the noun, to fill a full supply. Okay, so when he says stock the ships, well, stock is another thing like stocks and bonds and stock, livestock, and stock when we're talking about slave trade. Okay, the trade of people. Okay, so fullness, fill, feast, Saturday, fullness, full meaning extra material in music. Okay, so these are later things. So let's look at definitions in WordNet. To fill. Okay, what does God mean when he says to fill? Okay, make full also in a metaphorical sense. So again, it's also in a metaphorical sense. Okay, fill, verb, become full. Okay, even here it says fill a container, fill the child with pride. And then when it says here under become full, the pool slowly filled with water. Okay, so if we're filling the earth, that means pump up the earth with something other than what it is. It is race, is splicing, creating different races and groups. Okay, the theater filled up slowly. Okay, occupy the whole of. So again, all over this particular land or earth. Again, when at one point in time, most of these land masses were peopled fully with heavily melanated people or beings. Okay, so occupy the whole of. He's talking about consume it. Okay, to subdue and to till. Look those things up in etymology. You will understand what the Bible is saying. It is not saying the pretty picture that they have painted for you in religion. Okay. Okay, we got to get with the real. Okay. Fill, assume as a position or roles. Again, this is role playing. The world is a stage. These acts are going on. Okay, the rituals, okay, of doing it over and over again and repeating itself through history because they know it works in order to consume the earth. And that's where we are today as so-called Black people. You have been consumed and subdued and tilled by these God's orders. Okay. And you get down on your knees to them, right? Okay. So assume full position or role. So again, this is them taking your nationality. This is talking about them taking American and turning it into a term that they use for their children. The race, I mean, it was originally a term used to describe the Aboriginal or native or copper colored people found here by the Europeans. But now the term is used to identify the children of the European as living creatures. So when God gave the breath to them and made them a living being, this is what it is saying. Gave them the breath of life. Okay. Again, now you're dead by law because you're using terms that mean dead in something that is obsolete or something that is on the ground or stagnant or packed in place. Okay. Fill, satisfy, or meet a want or need. See, because God thought that this was good when this was going on, okay? Or condition to restrict, okay? Let's see. Appoint someone to a position or a job. So again, they have been given your heredity. They have been given your stance, okay, in law as a living people that have some type of rights. When again, you are now property. Okay, when we're using these terms, okay. Fill, eat until one is sated. Okay, I was going to say satisfied. Okay, fill to satisfaction. Again, God kept saying what? It is good. Plug with a substance. Okay, so fill a cavity. So again, fill a hole, fill up something in there. Again, this is how they were able to put $5 Indians in place. This is, through history, you can just follow different portions of time and you'll see what it was talking about during that time. Okay, any material that fills a space or container. Okay, so again, to fill, peel. Okay, let's see. Okay, backfill. These are just related terms. Okay. Look at fill in, substitute. Okay, these is what Native Americans are because people look at them as the original people of this land, but they are not the original people. They may be of or of another group, okay, or a subgroup or race. so-called race, but at the end of the day, they are not the original people. They had to come from or through at some point in time during this process of creation to where they are now. Okay, someone who takes the place of another, they're taking your place. The funds that they are receiving on a monthly basis in some of these reservations are yours. Okay, and they're being given to another. The children of God, the living creatures, these are the people that are living. Okay, meaning that they have certain rights and stuff in the pursuit of happiness that you do not have, because you are not in the temple of God or the a pyramid of the caste system or that pyramid that is on your dollar bill. You are the ground or the foundation, establishment, or firmament that it is sitting on top of. Okay. So as when things get dangerous or difficult. Okay. So again, a merger, a grafting in, we can say. Okay. A wedding. Okay. These type of things is what we're actually really talking about. Okay. One who feels an agent, a substitute, a material taken from an excavation. Okay. See, used to feel depression. So again, it's to feel depression. So even when we're talking about oppression and pressure, it is talking about to feel in that base of the pyramid where there are Sudra or commoners, peasants, and servants that are servants of God. They serve a purpose for the house or the abode of God, which is just a higher elevated status or a hierarchy that is over the original people to help keep it stagnant or keep it down, okay? To mix with it and weaken it, to bring it to a point where it is at a standstill and it is actually suffocating, okay, or being pressed, okay? So again, let's see. Substitute one who fills, which fills up, fill up, fill up. Okay, whatever. Okay, from land. Okay, again, coming from land. Okay, from land. Okay, or the earth, right? Okay, so again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to know more, again, some of my videos may come up random to you guys and like they don't make sense. But if you walk with me or if you join me on my, especially my YouTube channel is where I put most of my content. If you follow me, I hate follow. If you join me there, you will start to see what I'm saying. And it won't be me that tells you. It will be you re-examining this and being curious about what is this girl talking about. And then once you tap into that, you will be able to take this journey on your own to see the truth of what's happening in the Bible. This is why I still read the Bible. People think that the book was used to enslave you, but I say it was your perception or a false notion or narrative that is the reason that you are not seeing what these words actually really mean. You have to know what these terms really mean. If they're that important and in the beginning was the word, then you will have to know what the words mean. Not what religion and your church told you it means, but what you know what's right and wrong. And you can pick up these books and you can look into them and see what these words really mean. And you will see that most of these gods or this particular God does not want you to survive in that manner or be strong, because he has the best interest of his children. Now we're all here on this earth today. So-called white people are here today. Other creations that came through the womb of the so-called black woman are here today, whether they know it or like it or not. But at the same time, we do not have to allow them to dictate what we feel, what we know is right and wrong. And at the end of the day, I don't think race is a problem. It is the perception that race is a problem that is fed to us through the mass media and these people that have an agenda to keep us all at the bottom. Because again, you are at the bottom as well, so-called white people. You are at the bottom of that pyramid when you talk about the caste system as well. And you're just being used as pawns in the game or toys in order to bring down a certain group. And because of this, and you've been trained, so-called black people, to stay down and be low and not trust each other and don't uplift each other. Because again, if we all get strong enough and we realize what is the strength is already there. When we realize what is happening, we will be able to point the finger at the proper people that are putting us all in this position and see the truth and see the light. Okay. And then we will be able to be free finally. Okay. So again, everyone is here now. They know that us joining together is the only thing that will topple over that whole house of cards that's going on. Okay. So let's realize that. That's the only thing that you have to realize, that we have one common enemy. Okay. To a certain extent, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So at the end of the day, everyone's here now. We know more than likely that most people are not prejudiced. Again, like my husband said the other day, where is all the outrage in the marches and everything? Because everybody should not be all tired out by now. Okay, where are the marches and everything for these young children that supposedly lost their lives over the past week or so in so-called Chicago? Again, is it just because we've been trained to act this way when we see a supposed story that happens on the media? Okay, and then they gear you towards that and you go as sheep and follow that. What about the real people supposedly that just really died? No one's going and marching about this right now. Why don't those people that came to the KKK with their guns in Stone Mountain, Georgia, why don't they head down to Chicago and then stand in and see what's going on in the city to see if these are really our people doing this or if this is an outside invitation like something that we will see in a movie like The Purge that is going on in our neighborhoods? Or are these just things that people are putting out falsely to make it look some kind of way or watch us dehumanize each other so they can show that to the world? Okay, so I want to thank you guys for listening. I know I got off subject, but go ahead and take care. Don't forget to join us in the Facebook group American Aborigines Unchained, where me and others share information that we have collected over time with our studies in order to uplift and empower the people. Thanks a lot and have a nice day. Bye-bye.